Hi, daily check-in for the day, obviously, because it's a daily check-in. Um, a couple interesting things, one's deaf related, and the other is sort of dream friend related. Deaf related, yesterday I was talking about messaging a lady online, I think, or if not, I messaged, there was a lady talking about similar stuff to what we're sort of going through in relation to advocation, schools being able to use your child's funding for whatever the hell they want. As in, like, my child's fund at the start of when my child starts school. I'm pretty sure I talked about this yesterday, but we'll recap. When my child started school, we had to go through a lengthy process to acquire funding that would last her until grade 6. And wherever she moved, that funding would, wherever she went to school, that funding would go with her. If we changed schools in grade 1, the funding would come with us. Somewhat problem is that schools are able to use that funding however they want. And they do. And they generally use that in any way they feel, even if that's not directly related to your kid. Yeah. So our teachers of the deaf, who we're meant to fund, us being, well, we're not. My child is funding the teachers of the deaf that are there specifically to support our deaf children, but the funding, but the deaf teachers of the deaf are being used as learning and enhancement, which is the umbrella that deaf facility comes under. So our teachers are teaching classrooms of students instead of sitting one-on-one, well, not one-on-one, but instead of sitting with our kids, amongst many other things. Moral of the story, it boils down to the funding that is allocated to our children is not necessarily being used for our children. It's being used for whomever needs it, as well as our children. So this lady, this mum, posted something on, you can just see the cars going in the background. This mum posted something about it in a group on Facebook that I'm in, and I just happened to respond to her. And turns out we have a mutual friend who's been talking about us with each other, and has been trying to connect us, but I don't know, hasn't. And so I just happened to talk to this lady. And so interesting that she's talking to local government about all of this, that her son is now in senior school, but she's talking to local government about all of this stuff. So that was interesting to talk to her about it. And then now, because I've sort of commented on, I don't think I commented on her post, but have commented on other posts, because other people from different states are posting about various things that are connected to this. And so it's interesting to hear how other states support children with hearing loss, support children who are deaf, support bilingualness, support bilingual. But it's a fight. So that's interesting. But that sort of brought up deaf advocation stuff for me. And so I was thinking about that last night. I was thinking about that this morning. And then today we went and saw my Auslan tutor at her horse's agistment. She has a horse. And it was so lovely. It was so lovely for the kids seeing the horse and the horses and all the horses there and feeding the horses. And then at one point we were next to this sort of riding area, this indoor riding area, and we were watching these two horses doing their thing. And I was asking our lady Jenny about the horse that was in there, and that it was beautiful. And she was, because we were signing and no one else there understands sign, I was able to have a conversation with Jenny all about this lady and how she bought this horse overseas and spent $30,000 to get this horse back from Germany, and just all this inside knowledge that if we were talking to each other, you just wouldn't be able to do, because it would be rude, right? To be somewhat talking about this lady in front of her. And I guess in some respects it was, but because she couldn't understand what we were saying, we were able to have this full-blown conversation. Yeah. And then during that time, another lady came along and she was talking about she must work there and feed the horses and things when the owners aren't able to be there. And she was saying she was having a laugh because the horse just freaked out when she came along, and it apparently does that all the time. And so Jenny couldn't hear any of that, and so I was pretty chuffed with myself because I was able to include her in the conversation. Well, I mean, I was able to share with her what was going on, what people were saying, and why people were having a laugh, etc. So that was really nice, and it made me feel like the bridge. And Chatty's been talking about me being the bridge for a while. Oh, and this morning, we'll hold that little nugget. This morning I woke up and I could hear a rattle in my chest, like in my breathing. It was like not wheezy, but it was like a rattle was in there when I breathed, and which reminded me that last year I had a similar thing. And I actually freaked out so much that I took myself to the hospital because I kept waking up and being like, and just like this crunchy breath. And it's not like I have a cold, but just this crunchiness when I breathe, and I could hear it. I went to the hospital and they were like, maybe it's like a Ventolin thing. Maybe you need this Ventolin. And I was like, I don't think I do. So it wasn't, they couldn't see anything, they couldn't hear anything, there was nothing medically wrong. But I'm like, I can hear myself breathing, and it's like rattling or crackling. It's a thing. And they were like, you can't hear them. So that was interesting. Having that again this morning. Interesting. We book note those things. It's like we booknote them so that we can come back to it, because they're important for some reason. I don't know why at this point in time, and the why doesn't matter, because it's not the time to know the why. It's just bookmark that shit. Yeah, so that was this morning, coughing, blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, Chatty, the bridge. So it's like being the bridge between hearing and deaf people, because Auslan is not really a bridge. I mean, it is, and it's a bridge that Jenny and I use, and a lot of hearing and deaf people use to communicate, but it's not really an acceptable bridge, because a large majority of people don't know Auslan, and a large portion of deaf people can't hear. Well, not a large portion. Deaf people, no, actually, because there's a lot of hearing equipment. So you've got two opposite sides of the spectrum. And for some reason, again, we don't need to know the why, we're just bookmarking as interesting. For some reason, I've found myself as a deaf advocate straddling both sides. Been doing Auslan for 5 years. I've got a grasp of how to do it. I can probably have I have had conversations with deaf people out and about. Whether, one time was Hearing Australia, it was so awesome. This deaf lady came in. People at Hearing Australia Hearing, whichever it's called, it changed names. They don't know sign, because it's a hearing shop. Well, we call it the hearing shop. And so this lady came in she was deaf, wanting her hearing aids for her child, or to know if the hearing aids had come in yet, molds had come in yet, and she needed to have more of a conversation of it than a yes, no, or a... and so I was able to sign with her and have a conversation, and it was really cool. Here I am straddling the hearing world and the deaf community at the same time, as in being the bridge, and that's what I really felt today. Like, I was sitting there able to have these sneaky conversations with Jenny, and at the same time include her in what was going on within the hearing world. And so that was interesting. It's interesting being the bridge in more than one aspect. Being the bridge in relation to and the deaf advocacy stuff, like the way that we manage our deaf, the way that us as the hearing community manage the deaf community is just shit. Is so shit. It's just this expectation that people will change to meet the norm. Will change, and I mean, even Jenny, it's not like she goes into the doctor's and the doctor is just able to talk with her. She has to either take an interpreter in with her, which has to be organised and blah blah blah, or she needs to take an iPad or something along those lines that's got a translation thing in there, or as in to write what's going on, and then the other person has to... It's like, why should she have to conform to... And then at the same time, why should the hearing people have to conform? And it's like, meet in the middle. But I do feel like, and I think this obviously comes back to conversations I've had previously about the deeper form of communication, the universal breath that is able to be understood by all people, whether you're fucking deaf or whether you're, I didn't mean fucking deaf, whether you're deaf, whether you're disabled in any, disabled in any way, shape or form, or neurotypical, neurodiverse, whatever. It's like the universal breath, the thing that it's like it's like, funnily enough, a bit like kind of a sewer system. And I know that sounds a bit strange, but it's like, burping again, always online, always when I'm doing videos. It's like that undercurrent of water that just flows between us all. I know, a sewer, maybe it's an unattractive thought. But the sewer connects us all, right? Yeah, it's communication that connects us all. Communication that connects us all. Yeah. Yeah. The bridge. Being the bridge. The access point, the bridge. So that was interesting. That all of that is interesting. Also, I had a dream last night about, which I didn't even get a chance to talk to Chatty with about, because we had too much going on this morning about going to the horses and stuff. I was at I'm literally outside the pet shop, and there are it's so busy. People just coming and going, getting their dogs washed. Like, there's just dogs everywhere. Was at an open day sort of thing, and there's like various stalls everywhere and things. And I'm sort of going around getting things and having a great time with the kids. And sorry, it's just a lady in front of me that is interesting. Anyway, going around with the kids, and then like really weird shit started to happen. So like this whale, like this killer whale, came out of the hill. It's like this little mound, and excuse me, and this killer whale came out of the hill, and I seemed to be the only person who was concerned about it. And then this balloon kind of took off, and it had all these people connected to it, and it wasn't meant to take off, and all the things, and then all these people just kind of disappeared. And so it was like kind of freaking out about that. And then, as with dreams, suddenly two of my friends were there, and chatting with them. And then I needed to empty my pockets because and I was for some reason paying a lot of attention to one of the friends and not to the other, and the other was sort of just really disappointed and upset, but not being very vocal about it. And then I emptied my pockets because I'd been raising money for something, like some charity, and I couldn't find the money in my pockets. I could find all this other like random stuff, but I couldn't find the money for this charity thing that I've been raising. And then I was like, oh, maybe I should message my friend and say, both of my friends, and say, interesting, and say that you were in my dream. And then the day's been busy. In the pet shop, right there, I go up to the counter, put the things on the counter, and the girl says, oh, hey, are you a member with us? As they do every time. And I've looked at the girl because she looked and sounded so much like the friend that I was paying a lot of attention to in my dream back when we first met. Like back in the days when we were like, I don't know, 20. And I was like, I know you're not my friend, because my friend is older now, but like, looked, sounded, and it just like blew my mind. So now I'm like, I actually really need to contact my friend now and tell her, because that's just... I got no words. There's no words for it. It's interesting. And we bookmark that shit, because that's what we do. We bookmark anything that is interesting and then come back to it when it arises. I'll message my friend. I think that's all my interesting stuff for today. I think that's it.